A very good morning to all of you. This is the Media Roundtable, putting together a panel of journalists and political pundits to discuss the issues that are affecting this country. Now, 2026 general elections are still months away, but the political battlefield is already active and telling. A new wave of youthful aspirants within the national resistance movement, even in the NUP, is rising, and they're determined to unseat the incumbents. They want to shake up the structures. Now, across different constituencies, reports are emerging that the young aspirants are really being combative and want to unseat the old tax. What exactly is happening? Is it really just a generational shift? Looking at the numbers in 2024 UNBS statistics, it shows 78% of Uganda's population is below the age of 35. Now, these young aspirants are being systematically sidelined. Some have even been struck off the voters' registers. Others denied access to party structures, and many face barriers designed to keep incumbents unchallenged. These aren't just isolated incidents. They also show us that there's deeper power dynamics within NRM's internal processes, and also expose in the promise of inclusive the cracks in the promise of inclusive democracy. So in a country where you have over 75% of the population under the age of 30, there's growing frustration amongst Uganda's youth. Is it just political? Is it generational? The old guard wants to dig in. The question becomes, will this youthful surge be allowed a fair context, or is it already being chalked off before primaries even begin? Today on the Media Roundtable, we ask those questions and how media has been able to cover this particular issue. On the panel today, Timothy Chemonges, Benson Ongom, and Richard Baguma. Gentlemen, many thanks for being here with us.
Thank you, Connery. Good to be here.
And good morning,
Good morning. Let me begin by asking you, Richard, because I know over time you've seen this generational shift. We're even compared to countries in our neighborhood, that you have ministers who are 29, you have ministers who are 35, which is quite different here. I think one of the pictures that cannot leave our minds is General Moses Ali at the age of, I think, 85, being nominated in the car. He could barely walk or get out to be nominated like the others did. The question is, how do you think media has covered this particular issue, or are we just reading too much into it?
When I was told that I was coming, I was just thinking about who would be on the panel. And I knew if we continue the discourse, I'm kind of being attacked. Yeah.
Because now that's why I began with you.
Yeah, it means that you are questioning why I'm on the panel. I've been around journalism for a while. So it is demonized or evil to grow old, to be old. And we need to check our psyche, really, about that. It kind of is a societal thing to start feeling that when people grow old, they must be isolated. I think it's something we really, really need to think about. It's something we don't want to talk about. It's something we don't even recognize. So that's the first thing. And it reminded me, when we were growing up, I don't know in your areas, but kind of in our area, nowhere, probably we grew up at very different times. When rain would not come, when drought would be there, and in Kashari, or wherever you see, we would have drought. Then they would select an old person who is not well to do. And they built the manpower water on them that they are the ones who are causing rain not to come. But we know weather patterns and the things. So we have to think about that context first and foremost. The second thing is we know that it's realistic that age erodes abilities. Biology and nature erodes abilities. That is why you see in appointed places, including like in Canada, by the way, where they appoint senators, because they are appointed by the governors, they have an age limit of 75. The world somehow is that where you have elected officials, they have generally no age limit except if they are the top executive. But in senates, elected MPs, whatever you call them, across the world have no age limit. And not even term limit. They just go on and on and on. So I don't know why the current dispensation of understanding of democracy allows that. But I think the principle is that then you don't tell people to choose and then curtail them from choosing. I think that's the principle, that you allow the voter to choose whoever they think is in their best interest. And probably that is what is happening in Adjumani. That for us, we can come and say whatever we want to say. The people there will still decide the way they are going to decide. Now, we can condemn them and demonize them. Probably that's also a democratic right. But we probably have to allow them. The other thing I think we need to think about is the demographic structure of our society and the perceived benefits that come from occupying public office. So I think sometimes, well, it is felt, sometimes rightly so, that some people have enjoyed public benefits for too long. The others also want to enjoy them. And so these ones should go away. That also creates problem. And then you have a very young population, which you have just read, which thinks that, oh yeah, we also must get a bite of the cake. So I think it's a mixture of all these. But for me, while I run an organization, Chimonges knows, that targets youth. That's principally my public. And I kept telling them that when I started this, I was also youth like you. But I'm preparing to get out before you start coming to pour water on me. But the way I constructed the organization, I am still the owner. I don't know what choices you have. I am still there. I'm the owner. You have to deal with me. And God may give me many years. So I don't know what will happen. But so all those factors combined make this there for the media, which is manned by young people. I also left the media because the media tells me that I've grown old. By the way, the media and sports are the places where you grow old too quickly. So imagine when we left the media. We were being looked at as having spent too many years in the media. I went to train Ongom, and Ongom can only allow me as a trainer. He doesn't want me to be in office with him. What is this old man doing here? So that is the mix in which we are. And I think therefore the media has been they totally have forgotten rights. The right of a person who is not well, the right of a person who, to his standing, the right of the voters to select him, that has been totally abandoned if you look at every media house. And I think we need to think about that as well.
Well, is it, Benson, it's not just in Adjumani, it is in Kamuli, it is in Sembabale, it is everywhere. People are asking, what are these old folks doing on the ballot? Shouldn't they be on the advisory committee? But I'm really interested in how you think media has framed this generational power struggle.
Canary, first of all, I was discussing with a friend of mine, I think yesterday, on the Moses Ali situation. I happen to come from that region, not far. I think Adjumani from Gulu is around probably 80-something kilometers. I think when you read the situation of Moses Ali, you read what is happening with the people like Okello Oryem, like even the former speaker, it is not about that they want to come or be re-elected because they want to change something. I think it's a power struggle within themselves. Moses Ali's case, in Adjumani now, the pictures that are circulating for him is actually the old picture. I think the picture I used in either 2016 or 2011, his campaign pictures. So for me, I don't see or think it's about we are taking or we are revoting, we are electing Moses because we want to change something. If you look at, I'll give an example, especially for the politicians in the north of the country. Now, in Acholi sub-region, for example, you look at people like Gila Ronek, the Minister for Disaster. You look at people like Okello Oryem, the Minister for State for Internal Affairs, Foreign Affairs. You look at people like Beatrice Anywa. These are old folks. In the last election, in the primaries, Beatrice Anywa was beaten by a very young man. Absolutely very young man. The same as the person of Okello Oryem. Very young man called Kisinja, and he's coming back. So what does that tell you? I think we need to learn from our neighbors as well. If you look at Kenya now, that we see what is happening in Kenya, look at the minority whip, look at the majority whip, look at the composition of the Senate and composition of the members of parliament in the Kenyan politics. Very young people. we have not appreciated the fact that I understand where he's coming from, and of course his age, even in this panel, tells it, and where he's coming from, that we don't need to ignore them. Among us here, if he tells us about journalism and certain things that they did, we can't ignore it. But we also need to realize that things are changing. I, for particular, don't think these people that we have spoken their names has anything to change. We have different things that have come, there are different ideas that have come really on board. And sometimes when you talk to these people that are aspiring to be either members of parliament or even at different leadership position, even with their campaign tools and content, and you really see they're not targeting me and you, Canary. Absolutely is about power. I ask you a question that even when we re-elect Moses Ali today, the Moses Ali you saw on TV now making rounds on TikTok, what will Moses Ali change for a new person? So where have we as the media, and again, I think we are in a very tight spot. At the end of the day, me and you, Canary, have to be on TV here and report whatever we see, whether it's good or bad. Even when we do deep analysis on the impact or even the possibilities that these members of parliament will either be of worth to the people that will elect them, you will run short of things to write in your script, even when you interview people. From the north where I come from, I see emergence of young people, and very talented young people. The question is, are we accepting the young people as well? I was covering the elections, the lower elections for the NRM. I don't think Canary now, even when we have the young, brilliant people who want to join politics, across the board, even in the central here, maybe in the central with the National Unity Platform, but in the north where NRM is pushing, in the east where FDC is, I don't think they do even have a chance. You could be very credible. Election is about three things: credibility, election is about message, and financing. If you look at the young people that are going to politics, even within the NRM space, some of them are very credible. For example, I'll tell you, a good friend of ours, Duncan, I could say is a credible person within my face as a young person. But will he match the people that he's contesting with? Amount of money that they spent. Okello Oryem, for example, now in Chua East, is going against a very young person who I think is very brilliant. There are three candidates actually in the primaries. There's General Toilet, who is retired with lots of money, and he has built 2 churches in less than 2 years. You have Okello Oryem, who has been minister for almost 15, 20 years. He has done whatever he has done. And then you have this young person that me, in my opinion, think could be a fresh breath. So I think we really need to understand some of the issues that is really affecting us now, Canary. I think also needs new ideas and new generation.
That they'll be understood by the young people
the young
who have lived them.
Who has lived them. And
what happens to the old folks who are supposed to be giving wisdom?
And I'll speak again for, you know, I come from the north, and I emphasize this. We have people that have been in politics for quite some time. In the north of the country now, you could point at Norbert Mao. You could point at maybe Richard Todwong, not so old, not so young, but in the middle there. You could look at people like Gila Runek. The question that if you ask Norbert Mao now, that who have you mentored? You know the people like Gokidi, who surrounds Norbert Mao.
Yeah.
Very brilliant young people. Have they moved a step from where Norbert Mao is? Norbert Mao comes from the north. And if you ask Norbert Mao, have you mentored somebody now? I don't know whether he's going to seek for re-election in good or not, but he's a mysterious candidate. For him, he always comes towards the end of one day to nomination and you see Norbert Mao. But the question of mentorship, how they've mentored us in journalism, I don't see it in politics. People like Mama Mabira, for God's sake, you have served as a member of parliament for 15 years. The Mama Mabira you knew in 2011 and FDC, that vigor, do you think you'll get it on Mama Mabira now? Do you think you'll get the Kadaga in 2011, 2016 now in the Kadaga we see? I think we need to be realistic with ourselves. Even him, yeah, he runs an organization. I think he reached a moment where he needs to sit back at board and says, I am the board chair.
Right.
And he allows the people to
take a step back.
And take a step
Timothy,
back.
I think one of the interesting pictures I've seen on social media is a banner, a poster for Ephraim Kamuntu. And then this person goes and posts the poster and then posts the actual picture. Said, look at what Photoshop has done.
Yeah.
It's Ephraim Kamuntu on the side with a very smooth skin, and then posted an actual picture, said this is what things look like. But what I'm interested in, do you think that the media has framed, and then the other conversation really was about Zimbabwe, when you look at General Rwashande and Sech Kubo, the battle in there, and then General Shanda, I remember one of the videos that went viral online is General Shanda dancing on a rally. And people are saying, what are these folks going to do? But are we, as media, framing this story right?
I think that there's been a significant focus on the question of age. Of course, the challenge is that there are few known people. There is quite a very wide group of people who ideally, spanning across the country, who equally are in the same scope of discussion.
Right.
For me, again, there are three things I would want to reflect in light of this. The first is the issue of the individuals themselves. You will notice that the individuals themselves are shy to put their current image as they are on the posters, which from me, if indeed you're proud and you're very focused in ensuring that you, as you are today, reflect to the public.
Yeah.
So there's a definite shift, and even the candidates themselves are not as confident as they should be to have their pictures as they are today. It only means that either their images today do not reflect who they are exactly, or they would want to sway a specific narrative. Secondly, I think for me it's a thing that starts from the top, where a lot of inspiration has been picked from, from the top of the head of state, where you see that there is a deliberate, it's very deliberate to still remain in power, and that trickles down. It trickles down to LC1s. You've seen I think some of the LC1 position actually institutionalized that this is for this specific family, these specific individuals. And, it trickles down in that manner. And for me, again, whereas there is a need for us to reflect on the cross-generation representation, I think that we must focus on the issues today. Do the young people who actually, as we've highlighted here, seek to take up some of these leadership positions, or young people generally, do they feel represented? Do they see themselves in the kind of the legal framework and leadership framework as it is today? Are the older people who actually are holding most of this position? And part of the effort to actually bring the affirmative seat on the older person, I think it came from that realization that we do have older people and they need representation.
Right.
Some of their issues are not being taken care of, and probably we need individuals who are specifically looking into the issues of the older people.
Well, that we can debate what they are
Whether
doing
that,
in the last 5 years.
absolutely.
Yeah, but Sabit, good to have you on the show.
Apologies for appearing late, but thank you.
But we'll maybe spend some parliament money to buy breakfast after this.
Parliament money doesn't stay in my pocket.
It would have been surprising if a parliamentary official arrived on time.
When Sabit was a journalist, he used to keep time.
He used to keep time.
Ever since he went into that house, I don't know what
He
was
picked up the bad manners.
Richard, just real quick before Sabit comes in. There's been, of course, conversations on really the youth even being a special interest group in Parliament.
Like the elderly.
Like the elderly.
Yeah.
Like you're the majority. You represent 3/4 of this population, but you're still a special interest group in Parliament. Is it about that time we have a reflection to say, look, these demographics, we cannot just take them for granted. This is what we actually need. What is the actual representation of the young people?
The very wonderful Kenya that has young people is beating them on the street. Very wonderful, glamorous representation. So, does having people of your age group translate into good things for you? That's a question we should be asking ourselves. Do the places which have young people do better. They are performing very well, excellently. Okay, maybe.
No, but
here, the defender.
But let me give this example.
Will tell me. Or you can also defend it. Let's go ahead.
But let me give this example. That one of the drivers...
The whole desk is representatives.
One of the driving force of work today amongst the young people is ICT. But the representation in the Ministry of ICT, right from the top leadership, Chris Bariomunsi,
Dr. Zawede.
Well, Dr. Zawede fairly young and actually... So,
no,
but even the junior minister...
They are in the same age group, but...
But even the junior minister...
in the same age group, by the way, with Zawede.
but even the junior minister, Nabugwao, Sebugwao, rather, beg your pardon. If I'm in cabinet and I'm 35, I most probably understand issues that have to do with AI, and most probably will have the ability to do
So, Canary, let's go to the ministers that have fairly young ministers.
I'm trying to avoid individuals.
As it translated into what you're trying to
From
explain.
Western Iowa, we have a particularly young.
Even from Kitgum.
More than one, actually.
Young one.
So you see, I don't want. I'm avoiding. I am avoiding being critical of young players in the cabinet. I am being very. I'm being because you see, the question you asked was the framing, for example, of by the media. That question, in my view, was not answered by my colleagues. I didn't hear their professional view on the framing. So that's one, and we can go on and on. But the world, whether we like it or not, is ruled by old men in boardrooms, in academia, in politics. That's what is happening in the world. Now, we may want to change that, and we have to struggle. You see, I keep telling every time the young people I go to, and this I speak to them, I tell them there is this expectation of being given things. The world does not operate like that. That yes, you are young and now you are going to be given. What are you talking about? No one is going to give you. You have to struggle to get it. The current crop of people who are in power, what did they do when they were young? They were not born young.
Yeah.
What did they do? So you have a current crop of people who are, one of the old generals calls them what? Keyboard warriors. So, what change do you expect? If you think that you want things to happen the other way, you go into the theater of action. But you also wield the power of the ballot.
That if you want to push the old
exercise the power of your ballot for the old man or old woman.
That if you want to push the old guard away, it should be through a democratic process.
So this is it. So on this microphone here, you have the power of the ballot. What are you doing about it?
Okay.
If you are the majority, how come the minority are still in power and voted by you?
Yeah, but Sabit, let me bring you in here. You and I, 2017, were covering the age limit debate in Parliament, and it was really about President Yoweri Museveni to make sure he does not run again. Especially that was the narrative from the opposition. Little did we know that 5-7 years later, would be having a discussion on the age limit. But the discussion was that beyond a certain age, you do not have the ability to lead an institution, even if it's government. And that's the debate that comes back today. Do you think that, for example, let's look at media framing. Have we really exhausted the issues, or we have allowed social media to front a narrative, make the discussion look like we are all ageists?
Canary, I earned a barrage of online missiles because one of our colleagues here asked a question. Are people in Adjumani simply scared of challenging Moses Ali, or they loved him? And my response was, hit the road to Adjumani, go and tell us why. And I got a barrage of insults for telling me, you're very stupid, what happened to you since you left the media? And that's the conscience of the nation. The issue was, why has General Ali been able to stay for that long? And I was saying, look, as a practicing journalist, sitting in Kampala and posting on X from the newsroom will not give the audience the answer. Right. But if you went down there, you would speak to the people who have kept the old man there. Benson is his neighbor. Just call him and send him there. and he does a bit of online analysis. Then you read a bit of the historical context of how he came into prominence, his role in the past governments, and what position he holds in West Nile. That's not to say I want my old man to be embarrassed like that and moving in that state. So here's, I think you have touched on the real, maybe that's what my elder here was talking about. We never get to construct, discuss, dissect the issues. Now what is being discussed is the way General Ali looked in that vehicle when he was being nominated. No, the real issue is that when critical conversations emerge in Uganda, we move it away from the critical issue and take it to an individual. But rightly so, because apart from him, I think all of us found one president here. We've grown up with him here. We have had children under him. So our reasoning, our construction of ideas and our appreciation of ideas may actually be associated with him. For him, he will tell you there was an Obote, probably there was an Amin, and there was something like this, which widens the spectrum. But the concept of age, for example, and Canary, you were asking, look, why? I think that even this parliament, by the way, is relatively young.
Yeah.
If you look at the average age of members of parliament, you'll be amazed. They are very young members of parliament, very many of them. Has that translated into the stellar performance, into the beautiful action that you would see? That's probably a matter of opinion. My brother Samuel Odonga Oto, Akbar Godi, and their cohort, the previous younger generations, came to parliament at 23. If you go to the Hansard, you go to their public records, you go to their debate records. Can you compare them with this current crop?
This current crop, actually, the average age is 46.
Absolutely. So basically, it's a young parliament. So is age, and one day I had a conversation with General Eli Tumwine after one of my newsroom crimes. He came looking for me, and I dodged him for I think 6 months until one day he landed. He got me next to the lift and said, "You have been looking for you." And he took me to his office and he told me one thing. You guys sit on TV and imagine things, and you assume that because you are shouting and tweeting and you're going to change government. He said you're going to have to sit with us in the boardrooms. What Baguma was saying, that power is held and run, exercised in the boardrooms by old gray-haired men who have made some money, who have made some influence, and are able to call shots. When they decide to bring a young Benson in power, they are still managing him behind the lines. So,
but can we talk about how the system is designed to keep those old gray-haired men?
Yeah, precisely. That system is like
power.
that everywhere. So the people who have broken that system, what have they done? I don't think they have gone online and abused Canary for doing a story the way they don't like for 7 years. I don't think they have gone online and shouted and insulted Baguma for saying that power is exercised by old gray-haired old men. To dislodge a status quo, it requires a little bit much more sophistication than insulting people, than actually sitting at bars and discussing things like that. Systems are deliberate. If the old people want to lead, they will design deliberate strategies. They know what diverts. You go to, is it called Bandali Rise? And from Friday to Sunday, 9 p.m. to 8 a.m., what are young people doing there? They are doing Kasese vibe challenges and things like that. And they know you are happy. And if Benson begins to shout a bit here and here, they know how to make him happy. They appeal to your sense of pocket, appeal to your sense of fun. A little bit freebies here and there, and young people are diverted. But where young people have succeeded,
right,
and rarely, look at the generation that we are now crying about. At what age did they take charge of the affairs of this country? They'll tell you that there was a General Mugisha Muntu at 29 who was commanding the army. An average 29-year-old Ugandan now, how many of them can command a platoon, can lead a national army? A national army which had come from the ruins, where there were no structures, you had to build a lot of things like that. There was a Colonel Dr. Kiza Besigye who was in cabinet at what age? They said 23. He was the National Political Commissar and Minister of Internal Affairs, holding a powerful docket. All these old people now that we cry about, go and read about them. At 23, at 25, where was General Moses Ali? What was he doing? So what did they, and then people will say, you know, the system has crushed us, has denied us space. Is this system worse than the one that the doctor messages emerged in? Is it worse than the one the general allies emerged in? I think there's just a proper need for the young people to have a sensible conversation. But you see, because of personality, because of what I used to call in the newsroom the grand ayatollasm, we don't discuss issues. But also sometimes it becomes very difficult to, you will forgive us, to separate the ayatollahs from the issues. Because if you have woken up, grown up and seen one status quo, one group threatening another group saying your threats won't work, for all your life, it shapes the way you appreciate issues and dissect them. Yes.
All right, let's take a break. When we return, let's talk about the disenfranchisement. And many people feel that the incumbents have designed a system to keep them in power. The ones running against them, they have struck them off the list deliberately. They have been able to even design systems in different ways inside even the structures that promise really internal democracy and fairness. But this is not being seen, especially now that we're headed for the primaries. What exactly is happening? Let's take a break. We'll return with that.